Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bob Johnson's Computer Stuff Inc. We are the leading Toughbook experts and retail and refurbishers. Today I will show you how to replace the system board in your CF-30. This is part 3 of a series. First, reset the chassis. Next, reinsert the cable underneath the chassis, located where the battery would be. Afterwards, reinsert the USB board. You will have to reinsert the wire into the connector. Be sure to be careful not to break the ribbon. After which, you would be replacing the screw in the corner of the USB board. Then once you've done that, you should reconnect the black cable to the top coaxial of the single antenna right next to the USB board. Next, I would recommend reconnecting the cables from the system board back to the I/O board. You fasten the ribbon cables by securing the clips. The other brown ribbon cable is a clip you lift up and then you push it down to fasten it. Next, there's a silver screw, or silver clip, which holds the two antenna cables, the WAN cables or wires in place. Reconnect that silver clip and replace the screw. After this, it's okay to reconnect the speaker wire back into the main board. Then reconnect the ribbon cable next to the speaker wire back into place as well. You would have to disconnect that to replace the speaker wire. It's obviously located right next to the WAN antenna cables. Replace the brown ribbon cable back into its necessary connector. Now you have to replace the WAN antenna cables. The black and white should be reconnected. After you replace that plastic cover, next you must replace the screws for the chassis. I've marked them with red circles so that it's easily identifiable as to which screws need to be replaced. I recommend using a small Phillips head screwdriver to do this. Next, the touchpad board can be replaced as well. Reconnect the ribbon cable back into the touchpad. The green ribbon cable goes into that specific connector. This specific ribbon cable is will be covered with tape Remove the tape, which will reveal the blue ribbon cable, which goes into that specific connector on the board. Push down the clip to fasten the cable in place. Next, it's okay now to replace the 2 screws holding down the touchpad board. Now we're going to replace the FPC, BAT, and HDD connector, or in more layman's terms, the battery and hard disk drive connector. There is a small thin ribbon cable, brown in color, running from the FPC. Connect that back into the touchpad. Then reconnect the 2 screws. First screw and then second screw, fastening the FPC BAT connector back in place. After which, reconnect the silver wire back into its necessary connector. This wire runs from the FPC connector. Reconnect the ribbon cable. After accomplishing this, you will have to remove the tape and the plastic cover once again. Simply replace after completion. Next, reconnect the wide brown ribbon cable back into the connector. Then replace the battery cage. Replace the screws for the battery cage. There should be several small silver screws holding this component in place. Next, you can replace the ribbon cables into the I/O board. Simply insert the cables into their necessary connectors. Then push back the clips to secure them. After which, turn the Toughbook on the retractable handle and replace the screws for the I/O board. Next, replace the back plate. Installation for this portion should be complete. Once you finish replacing the back plate, next you will be replacing the wires for the front or top side of the system board. Run the wires for the WAN card through the necessary parts or grooves, then reconnect the wires to the WAN card. Next, reconnect the LCD cables underneath the LCD cable cover. Next, there is a screw located on the top side that has to be replaced as well. Once you've completed this, replace the keyboard. Simply replace these ribbon cables and there you have it. Be sure to be very gentle with the ribbon cables as well as the clips, not to damage anything. Next, replace the tape over top of the LCD cable cover. Then replace the hinge cover for the CF-30. Screw down the hinge cover replacing the two. Then replace the screws for the keyboard cable cover. Should be pretty simple at this point. Now you're just resetting the keyboard as well as the keyboard bezel. Once the keyboard bezel has been reset and is overlaying the keyboard properly, you need to replace the 4 screws holding the bezel in place. As replacing the keyboard for a CF-30 screws. Now you have to replace the hinge cover rear screw. There is a screw in the back of the hinge cover that has to be replaced. And once you've replaced it, then you're pretty set after this point. Thank you once again for tuning in here at Bob Johnson's Computer Stuff Inc.
Thanks for watching today. For more repair videos, click the link below. And remember,